The alien fleet moved silently through the black emptiness of the Andromeda expanse. Stars shone coldly in the distance, but the void itself felt alive, as if it were watching the ships. Captain Xylar, a tall being with dark, glimmering scales and 6 eyes, stood at the bridge of the lead vessel, Zareth. His hands hovered over the control panels, adjusting the scanning instruments with careful precision. "Captain," Lieutenant Vorik said, his voice trembling slightly, "we are picking up a large energy signature. It doesn't match anything in our databases." Xylar leaned closer to the holographic display. The readouts flickered, showing a massive shape drifting in space. The structure was enormous, far larger than any human craft the aliens had previously encountered. It was a battleship, yes, but unlike anything they had ever scanned. Its hull was sleek yet heavily armored, with energy conduits visible even from a distance. "Send a probe," Xylar ordered. "We need more information before we approach." Vorik hesitated. "Captain, I do not know if that is wise. This ship could be active." "It could." "Silence," Xylar snapped, his voice firm. "We are explorers. Our mission is to learn, not to cower at the unknown." The probe launched and sped toward the human ship. The alien crew watched intently as the data began to stream back. Initial scans suggested the ship was abandoned or decommissioned. Energy readings were minimal, shields appeared offline, and no crew activity was detected. The aliens felt a cautious relief. "Looks like a relic," said Vorik, though his tone was less confident than usual. Xylar did not reply. He studied the image of the ship, its sheer size and design filling the bridge with a sense of awe. Then, suddenly, the sensors began to behave erratically. "Captain," Vorik shouted, "the shields, they're activating." The human battleship's energy field flared to life, invisible to the naked eye but clear on the sensors. The readings spiked. Overloading the probe, instruments began to fail, and alarms blared throughout the bridge. "How is this possible?" Xylar muttered. He had seen many ships in his life, dozens of alien civilizations, but nothing like this. The ship's energy output was far beyond their technology. "Pull the probe back," Xylar commanded. The probe, however, did not respond. It was as if the human ship was aware of its presence. Panic rippled through the alien fleet. Vorik's claws shook as he gripped the console. "Captain, it's intelligent. It knows we are scanning it." Xylar's jaw tightened. He had not anticipated this. Humans were legendary in alien tales, not for their diplomacy, not for their fleets, but for their unpredictability. Now, staring at the massive battleship, he realized those stories might have underestimated them. The human ship remained silent, yet the alien sensors picked up subtle movements within the hull. Tiny lights flickered across its surface. Automated defense drones were awakening, scanning the surrounding void. The aliens had encountered drone systems before, but these were faster, smarter, and far more advanced. "Sir, they are preparing," Vorik whispered, fear creeping into his voice. Xylar clenched his hands into fists. He had to keep control. Retreat was an option, yes, but he could not allow fear to rule the fleet. "Stay calm," he said. "We will observe. That is all." But calm was difficult when the unknown loomed larger with every second. The human ship suddenly emitted a pulse of energy. It was not an attack. It did not harm them, but it overloaded some of their sensors. The pulse was precise, almost deliberate. "What was that?" Vorik asked, his multiple eyes wide. "A warning," Xylar said quietly, though he himself did not fully understand it. "It is telling us it knows we are here." The aliens attempted to analyze the pulse, but the technology was beyond comprehension. It was adaptive, learning from their scanners, responding instantly to every attempt to measure it. The human ship seemed alive, not just in the biological sense, but in intelligence, strategy, and control over its own systems. Vorik swallowed hard. "Captain, perhaps we should reconsider." We are not dealing with mere humans. This is something more. Xylar's pride flared. He was not accustomed to fear, especially in front of his crew. No, he said firmly. We are explorers. We do not run from what we do not understand. Prepare a more detailed scan. We will learn what this ship is capable of. The crew worked frantically, adjusting instruments, rerouting power, trying to get even a partial reading. But the ship remained an enigma. Every attempt to penetrate its systems was met with resistance. It was as if the human battleship could anticipate their every move. Hours passed. The alien fleet maintained a cautious orbit, unable to make progress. Slowly, unease turned into fear. The humans were not attacking. Not yet, but the very presence of the ship radiated power, confidence, and control. The aliens felt exposed, small, and vulnerable. Finally, Xylar turned to his crew. Send a message. Attempt communication. Let them know we are not here to destroy. Let them know we respect them. Vorik hesitated. Sir, do you think they will respond? I do not know, Xylar admitted. But we must try. The message was sent. It was simple. A series of coded pulses and frequencies designed to reach any intelligent life aboard the ship. The fleet waited, tense, watching the empty void. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the human battleship emitted another energy pulse. This one was different. It was stronger, more deliberate. It did not attack the alien ships, but it caused every system aboard the fleet to momentarily falter. The aliens realized, with growing horror, that the humans had complete control of the situation. They could disable, observe, or destroy the fleet if they chose. Vorik's voice shook. Captain, they are testing us. Xylar's pride warred with his fear. He wanted to retreat, but he could not show weakness. Perhaps, he said. Or perhaps they are. Curious. The aliens studied the ship, realizing that it was more than just advanced technology. It was a fortress. Yes, but it was also a masterpiece of engineering and strategy. Its systems were self-repairing, its drones intelligent and autonomous, its weapons hidden yet threatening. Every feature suggested a species capable of combining strength with cunning. Aggression. With calculation. They are superior, Vorik muttered. Xylar nodded slowly. Yes. But perhaps not reckless. Perhaps they have reason to test us before making a move. The fleet continued its observation, unable to look away. Every pulse, every movement of the ship, revealed more about human ingenuity. The aliens began to whisper among themselves, sharing stories of human history, human wars, human victories. They had underestimated humans for centuries. Now, facing a single battleship, they understood the truth. Humans were not to be trifled with. As the stars shimmered coldly around them, the alien fleet remained in orbit, trapped between curiosity and fear. They had discovered a human battleship, and they instantly wished they had not. For hours, they watched, unable to leave, unable to advance, unable to act. The human ship was silent again. Yet its presence spoke volumes. This was a force that no alien fleet could underestimate. A species that combined brilliance, courage, and unpredictability in ways the universe had never seen before. Finally, Xylar spoke, his voice low and reverent. Prepare the logs. Document everything. The universe will need to know what we have seen. Prepare the logs. Vorik swallowed hard. Captain, do you think they will attack us? Xylar shook his head slowly. I do not know. But we have learned something far more important than whether they will attack. We have learned that humans are not like us. And that is a lesson worth remembering. The alien fleet remained there, frozen in awe and fear, as the human battleship drifted silently, a ghostly titan in the void of space. And in that silence, one thing was certain. The humans had already won. Not through fire, not through violence, but through the simple truth of their existence. No alien fleet would ever approach a human battleship without hesitation again. The alien fleet drifted in the shadow of the human battleship, its massive hull reflecting faint starlight like a dark mirror. Hours had passed since their first scans, yet nothing about the ship had made them feel safe. The energy readings fluctuated subtly, almost teasing the aliens, as if the ship itself was alive and aware of their every thought. Captain Xylar stood rigid at the bridge of the Zereth, his 6 eyes scanning the readouts with a mix of fascination and fear. He could not stop thinking about the pulses, the defensive drones, the almost deliberate way the ship had made their sensors fail. Every alien officer on his bridge whispered quietly among themselves, trying to understand what they were seeing. Lieutenant Vorik approached Xylar, his long claws tapping nervously against the console. "Captain, we have partial data from our last scans. The ship's shields, they adapt. Every time we try to penetrate them, they adjust instantly. It is intelligent." Xylar nodded. "I see that, Lieutenant. But that is not the only concern. Look at the defensive drones." The holographic display showed tiny machines, no larger than a human hand, flitting along the battleship's hull. They moved with precision, coordinating in patterns that suggested a collective intelligence far beyond any alien technology Xylar had ever known. The drones could detect movement, energy fluctuations, and even the faintest attempts to probe the ship. "They are perfect," Vorik said, his voice trembling. "No alien fleet has ever had drones like this. They are faster, smarter. They anticipate us before we act." Xylar's pride refused to admit fear. "Perfect, yes. But they have not attacked. Not yet. Perhaps they are assessing us. Observing. This is a rare opportunity. We must continue to study them." Vorik shook his head slowly. "Captain, we are not studying. We are being studied. And I do not think we will like what they see." The alien fleet hesitated, caught between curiosity and terror. Each moment they lingered near the human battleship increased the risk of provoking a reaction. Yet retreating without understanding would be a failure of their mission and pride. Xylar's mind raced as he considered the options. "Prepare another probe," he said finally. "But this one will be more advanced. It will gather detailed information on their drones, their energy systems, and their weaponry." Vorik's eyes widened. "Sir, you are suggesting we push further? After the last event?" "Yes," Xylar said firmly. "We do not retreat from knowledge. We risk nothing if we remain cautious. Send the probe." The new probe launched, sleek and small, designed to evade detection. But within moments, the human battleship responded. A subtle wave of energy swept through space, disabling the probe's communications before it could transmit data. The alien sensors flickered and went dark for a tense moment, leaving the fleet blind. "Pull it back," Vorik shouted. They are stronger than we imagined." Xylar gritted his teeth, fighting the rising panic. "We will not leave yet. We will understand them." The human battleship seemed to sense the fear in the alien fleet. Without firing a single weapon, it projected a massive energy pulse into the void, forcing the fleet to scatter slightly to maintain formation. The aliens' hulls shuddered under the invisible force. Instruments showed nothing, but the effect was undeniable. The ship could control space itself or at least manipulate energy in ways they could not comprehend. "This is unacceptable," Vorik whispered. "We are at their mercy. They could destroy us all in seconds, perhaps," Xylar admitted, his voice low. "Or perhaps they choose not to. Observe closely, Lieutenant. They are sending a message, not of destruction, but of control, of power." As the fleet adjusted its position, the human battleship moved. Slowly, gracefully. The alien sensors barely detected the motion, but it was enough to cause a ripple of alarm. The battleship was not fleeing or attacking. It was positioning itself, demonstrating a presence that was both commanding and terrifying. Vorik could not hide his fear. "They are playing with us," Xylar finally allowed himself to study the ship closely. The hull was enormous, far larger than any alien warship. Its weapons were hidden, perhaps integrated seamlessly into the structure. The energy shield glowed faintly across its surface. Reactive and adaptive, drones moved along every section of the hull, invisible to the naked eye, coordinating as if controlled by a single mind. They are superior in every way, Vorik said quietly. And yet, they have not attacked. Why? Xylar considered this carefully. Because they are confident. Because they do not need to. Humans are patient hunters. They do not waste energy on what they do not fear. They wait, they observe, and they strike only when necessary. The aliens realized, slowly and with growing dread, that they were witnessing something unprecedented. The human battleship was not just a machine. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability. Every design choice, every pulse of energy, every movement suggested a species capable of brilliance far beyond what the galaxy had imagined. Hours turned into days. The alien fleet remained nearby, documenting every observation, trying to decipher the ship's systems. Yet each discovery only increased their awe and fear. The drones adapted to every probe, every scan. The shields remained impenetrable. The energy pulses were precise, controlled, and completely non-lethal, but utterly humiliating in their effect. The humans had turned the act of scanning into a lesson for the aliens. Lieutenant Vorik could not contain himself. Captain, we are not explorers here. We are subjects. They are testing us. And I fear, we are failing. Xylar said nothing for a long moment. He had always believed in the superiority of his species' technology. But now he faced a reality that shook him to his core. Humans were not like other civilizations. They did not rely on size, numbers, or brute force alone. They relied on intelligence, strategy, and creativity. And in that, they were unmatched. Suddenly, the human battleship emitted another pulse, this time a series of rapid energy bursts that caused the alien fleet to momentarily lose synchronization. Communication channels scrambled, navigation systems faltered, and for a terrifying instant, the fleet felt entirely vulnerable. Vorik's multiple eyes widened in horror. Captain, they could destroy us all now. If they wished. Xylar's hands tightened on the railing. Yes. But they do not. And that is the lesson. Humans are not reckless. They are not mindless. They are controlled. Dangerous, yes, but deliberate. Everything they do is calculated. The alien fleet continued to orbit the human battleship, reluctant to retreat, unable to advance. They watched as tiny lights blinked across the hull, drones moving in patterns that defied logic. It was a silent display of power, a demonstration that the humans were always one step ahead, even when invisible. Vorik whispered, almost to himself. They are beautiful in their design, terrifying, and beautiful. Xylar finally spoke, his voice calm but filled with gravity. Record everything. This is history. The galaxy must know what humans are capable of. This is not just a ship. This is a statement. A reminder that no species should underestimate them. As the alien fleet worked in tense silence, they began to understand something crucial. Humans did not need to attack to dominate. Their mere presence, their intelligence, and their ability to predict and control outcomes were enough to instill fear. The aliens realized that if a single battleship could do this, an entire human fleet would be unstoppable. For the first time, the alien crew questioned their place in the galaxy. The humans were not just strong or intelligent, they were exceptional. They were a species that combined courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding will to survive. And in that combination, they were terrifying. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Xylar made his decision. We will not engage. We will not provoke. But we will study. And we will remember. The humans are remarkable. Vorik nodded, still shaken. Yes, Captain. And perhaps we are lucky that they have not attacked. The human battleship drifted silently, enormous and imposing, its energy pulsing faintly in the dark. It was a monument to human brilliance and unpredictability, a silent guardian of a species that refused to be underestimated. The alien fleet continued to orbit, recording, scanning, and documenting. But deep down, every officer aboard every ship knew the truth. They had seen something they would never forget, and they had seen something that would change the way they viewed humanity forever. The humans had not fired a weapon, they had not threatened directly, yet the aliens felt powerless, humbled, and profoundly aware of their own limitations. And in that silence, one unshakable truth became clear. The galaxy had underestimated humans. And now, the humans had proven without a single shot fired that they were a force to be reckoned. The alien fleet hovered tens of thousands of kilometers from the human battleship. For hours, they had observed, scanned, and analyzed every movement, every pulse of energy, every drone flitting along the colossal hull. But despite all their instruments and their vast knowledge, the humans remained a puzzle. An enigma of power, precision, and quiet control. Captain Xylar stood at the bridge of the Zereth, his claws resting lightly on the railing. His 6 eyes scanned the readouts, but no instrument could capture the truth. Humans were unlike any species in the galaxy. They were unpredictable, brilliant, and terrifying in ways that went far beyond weaponry or fleet size. Captain, Lieutenant Vorik said, his voice trembling with a mix of awe and fear. We have monitored them for days now. Their energy patterns are adaptive. Their drones anticipate our scans. Their shields counter every probe. They could destroy us all in moments if they wished. Xylar nodded slowly. Yes, Lieutenant. And yet they have not. That is what I find most remarkable. They are not reckless. They are deliberate. They are humans. The fleet remained in orbit, hesitant to move, fearful of drawing attention. Then, without warning, the human battleship activated a series of low-energy pulses, sending ripples through the surrounding space. The pulses were subtle, harmless, yet unmistakably precise. The alien ship's sensors fluctuated wildly, and even the most advanced instruments struggled to compensate. They are testing us, Vorik whispered, his voice nearly lost in the hum of the bridge. Yes, Xylar agreed. And teaching us a lesson at the same time. The human battleship had not fired a single weapon, yet it was dominating the situation entirely. Its drones moved with incredible speed, forming intricate patterns that seemed to anticipate every move the alien fleet made. The shields responded instantly to every probe, every attempt at communication, every flicker of energy from the surrounding ships. Vorik's voice shook. Captain, they could destroy our entire fleet if they wanted, and we would not even know what hit us. Xylar remained silent, watching the human ship through the viewports. The sheer scale of it, the perfection of its design, the quiet authority of its presence. It was overwhelming. Humans were not just strong or clever, they were exceptional. Every part of the battleship seemed to be an extension of the human mind itself, disciplined, adaptive, precise, and confident. Hours passed, and still the aliens lingered. The human ship did not attack. It simply hovered in space, an imposing giant, commanding respect and fear, without raising a weapon. Slowly, the fleet began to realize the terrifying truth. Humans did not need to fire to be deadly. Their very existence, their intelligence, and their understanding of strategy made them a force beyond comparison. Captain, Vorik said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. We are outmatched, and we have not even seen their full capabilities yet. I do not think we should linger here any longer. Xylar looked at his lieutenant, his mind racing. Pride and fear warred within him. Retreat would be prudent. Yet he could not ignore the opportunity to study such a marvel. Perhaps you are right, he said slowly. But we must leave with knowledge, not just fear. Prepare the fleet for careful withdrawal. We will not provoke them. But we will not abandon this lesson either. As the alien fleet began to adjust its course, the human battleship moved. Slowly, deliberately, it shifted its position, keeping pace with the fleet. Its presence remained dominant, yet it did not attack. The aliens felt the subtle pressure of control, as if the ship itself were a silent predator, reminding them that they were being watched and judged. Vorik shivered. "Captain, they are following us." "Yes," Xylar admitted. "Not to strike. Not yet. But to demonstrate. Humans do not need brute force. They command attention simply by being what they are." The fleet continued its cautious retreat, documenting every detail, every observation. Yet as they moved, they began to notice subtle patterns in the human ship's energy emissions. It was almost like a conversation, a silent communication in which humans conveyed dominance, intelligence, and control. The aliens realized that humans had not only mastered technology, but had also mastered the art of psychological warfare, all without firing a single shot. "They are teaching us respect," Vorik said quietly, awed. Xylar nodded. "Yes. And reminding us of something else. That humans are not to be underestimated. Ever." Suddenly, the human battleship emitted another pulse, stronger this time. It caused minor disruptions in the alien ship's navigation systems. Panic rose among some crew members, but Xylar maintained his composure. The humans were not attacking, they were demonstrating capability. It was a lesson in control, in power, and in restraint. The alien fleet realized that humans operated on a completely different level of strategy. They did not need to fight to dominate. They did not need to attack to assert superiority. Their brilliance lay in anticipation, precision, and the ability to control outcomes before any confrontation began. Vorik's voice was filled with awe. "Captain, if a single battleship can do this, what could a fleet of humans accomplish?" "Wow." Xylar did not answer immediately. He allowed himself a moment to consider the implications. Entire civilizations had underestimated humans for centuries. Entire fleets had thought themselves superior. And now, before a single human ship had fired a weapon, the aliens understood the terrifying truth. Humanity was not just strong. Humanity was exceptional. "Prepare to log everything," Xylar said finally. "We must document this. The galaxy will need to know what we have seen. Humans are a species that cannot be ignored." As the alien fleet recorded data, they began to feel a deep sense of respect tempered with fear for the humans. Every detail of the battleship, every drone, every pulse of energy, told a story of a civilization that combined courage, intelligence, and unpredictability in ways the galaxy had never imagined. And then, without warning, the human battleship did something unexpected. It emitted a series of rapid pulses. Not harmful, not aggressive, but incredibly precise. The pulses formed a pattern, almost like a message or perhaps a test. The aliens tried to decode it, but the sophistication was beyond them. Yet even without understanding, they could feel the meaning. The humans were demonstrating control. They were proving that they could dominate without violence, that intellect and strategy alone were enough to command respect. Vorik whispered, almost reverently, "They are extraordinary." Xylar allowed himself a small nod. "Yes. And we are fortunate that they are patient, that they choose not to destroy. This is a species that understands power and restraint." The alien fleet began to withdraw more decisively, still documenting every movement. But even as they left, the presence of the human battleship lingered in their minds. It was not just a ship. It was a symbol of what humanity represented: brilliance, courage, and the ability to outthink any opponent. For the first time in his career, Captain Xylar felt the weight of true humility. He realized that humans were not just another species. They were a force that could not be predicted, could not be outmaneuvered easily, and could not be underestimated. The galaxy had always thought itself safe from human influence. Now, he knew the truth. Humanity was extraordinary, and the universe would take notice. As the stars stretched across the void, the alien fleet finally left the human battleship behind. But the lessons they carried were indelible. No fleet would ever scan a human ship without fear again. No civilization would ever underestimate humans without consequences. The battleship had not fired a single shot, yet it had changed the course of perception in the galaxy forever. Vorik turned to Xylar, his voice quiet and awed. "Captain, we have seen what humans are capable of. I do not think we will ever be the same." Xylar nodded, his eyes fixed on the fading silhouette of the battleship. "No, Lieutenant, we will not. And that is why the galaxy will remember this day. Humanity is not to be challenged lightly, and we have been fortunate to witness it firsthand." The alien fleet disappeared into the vastness of space, carrying their fear, their awe, and their respect. Humanity had proven, without violence, without even speaking a word, that it was a species unlike any other. A species capable of brilliance, strategy, and quiet domination. And in the emptiness of the Andromeda expanse, the human battleship remained, silent and imposing. A reminder that the galaxy had underestimated a force it could never fully predict. The humans had not acted aggressively. They had not provoked. And yet, they had won. Not with weapons, not with numbers, but with intelligence, ingenuity, and control. And every alien who had witnessed it knew the truth. Humanity was a force that demanded respect, a species that no one could challenge lightly, and a civilization that had just begun to show its power. In the silence of deep space, one fact remained clear. The galaxy had scanned a human battleship, and instantly wished it had not.